could possess is a person that is able to is independent on the decision that they make. They need to be independent and impartial. The person that is also that has integrity, and the person that is able to change constructively, and also to ensure that they protect the people, protect the property and the environment. So the person of that nature is the person that is important for the position. Also, from my side, I was an environmental practitioner where I conducted environmental impact assessment. So an environmental impact assessment, you are expected to act independently for the benefit of protecting the environment. So for this particular position of the community representative, it is important that I must be a person that is can act independently, and also a person that is able to get the views, being able to get the views of the public, being willing to listen to other people, and also when required, you can look at the criticism that are there, you look at them constructively, and be able to ensure that you work precisely. Also, what is important is a person that is can work well with other people, being able to cooperate. So that is one other important aspect of this particular person that is required. So for me, I've worked like I indicated on the environmental consultant, where I needed to also ensure that I take the views of the public and then conduct the public participation, be able to engage with the stakeholders, be able to listen on the stakeholders, and be listened to. So that is the important qualities of the person that I can at this point in time think of.
Thank you. We'll move on to question number 2, Honorable Member.
Thank you, Chair. Sir, in your understanding, what are the functions of the NNR board?
And thanks for that question, Honorable Member. The function of the NNR board to ensure the oversight. They need to ensure the oversight, because unlike the functions of the maybe if I make an example, the CEO of the NRR is the person that may or more involved on the day-to-day activities on the operation. But the function of the board is to ensure that they oversee on what is the work that is being undertaken, ensure also the permitting that is a smooth, transparency. One other thing that is important is to make sure that we are transparent in making decisions. Also, the function of the board is to make sure that they conduct public engagement to afford the public an opportunity to raise their views, their concern, make sure that the safety of the people is looked after, the safety of the environment is looked after. So the board need to ensure that the process that is there, you involve the public in terms of decision making. So also when you involve the public in the decision making, you need to make sure that there is a scientific evidence of the information that is provided to the public. There is also timeous consultation with the public, and be able to engage all the stakeholders, so that the board, ultimately, that's what is expected to do, is to ensure that the work is conducted fairly, lawfully, and justifiable. So that make sure that in align with all the legal prescripts, and make sure that everyone is not left out. So that's basically being able to consult with all the stakeholders that are required. So that's basically, in a nutshell, what would the board would be looking at. One other thing that I'm also so sorry about that. One other thing that I'm also leaving out is to make sure that also as the board member, you need to be able to make sure that the finances of the board are looked after. There is no abuse of power. Making sure that everyone is also accounted to, because what is important is that we need to be accountable to the people of the society, and making sure that all the decisions that are made, the people are consulted to, that they are made to it's clear to they are made to be sure. What is important also is to make sure that the public trust the board. That's basically where we need to ensure that there is transparency on how we conduct the board activities. Thank you, Honourable Member.
Thank you. Question number 3.
Mr. Tamsana, based on your understanding, what are the functions of the National Nuclear Regulator?
Thanks, honorable member, for the question. The function of the National Nuclear Regulator is basically to regulate the nuclear activities. So in regulating nuclear activities, how you go about doing that, you make sure that all the provisions in terms of the application of the licenses are adhered to. So as the National Nuclear Regulator, you make sure that the safety of the people, safety of the people, the property and environment are safeguarded from the nuclear damages. So the nuclear regulator is making sure that there are measures in place to ensure that the environment is protected. In so doing, you're making sure that all the, for example, you also what is important is to understand, to say, are there any emergency preparedness that are in place to ensure that the work that is going to be done, the nuclear activity that is being applied for, will basically meet the required standard and the limit that in terms of the issues that could be found there. So it's basically the nuclear regulator is also making sure that they involve the public. That's what I've indicated, to say nuclear regulator function is also to ensure that you get the public interest safeguarded, and also you get the public trust on the work that is conducted by the nuclear regulator. That is basically making sure that all these activities that are done, it's not mainly you're not really operating on the day-to-day activities, but it's basically regulating the process, obviously following all the applicable legislations to which that governs basically regulating of all those nuclear activities. So that's basically what the board is, the nuclear regulator is basically doing.
Thank you. Can you go on to number 4?
Thank you very much, Chair. My name is Honorable Hassan. I'll be asking you the 4th question, Mr. Tamsana. If you could please demonstrate your experience in any of the following categories, and I'll name them for you: radiation protection, nuclear medicine, mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, mining, metallurgical engineering, HR or labor relations, environmental management, emergency preparedness and response, information technology, governance and risk management, nuclear engineering, or nuclear physics, if there's any experience you have in any of those categories. Thank you.
Apologies, Honorable Member. Thanks for the question. I would like to propose that maybe you repeat them, because I was just trying to count them as you said. I must maybe respond to 4 or so. Just want to understand that I get the question correctly.
Okay, no, we're just trying to understand your experience, so you don't have to tick all the boxes. I was just mentioning all the different categories that we're looking for, and I'll mention them again for you, and then you can pick out where you have the right expertise. Right? I'll mention them again for you. Radiation protection, nuclear medicine, mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, mining, metallurgical engineering, HR or labor relations, environmental management, emergency preparedness and response, information technology, governance and risk management, nuclear engineering, or nuclear physics. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Honorable Member. My experience, as I've alluded earlier, I'm an environmental specialist. So I've been involved on environmental impact assessments, where I was doing studies for the mining permit. So initially, that's what I started firstly to do an impact assessment for the mining. So what we do on that side is basically to make sure that the environment is safeguarded, make sure that all the environmental impact are understood and explained precisely based on their scientific base. So basically on that one, what we do is also to make sure that we conduct public participation. We do environmental impact assessment studies, and then also make sure that where there's areas of uncertainty, we get specialist studies to make sure that the work that is being done, all the risks that are identified are understood, and also coming up with the mitigation measures. So in environmental, we'll have the maybe a document is prepared like environmental emergency preparedness, and also to make sure that all the issues that are identified, there is mitigations in place in terms of that one. Also, in terms of emergency preparedness, basically what we need to do on the emergency preparedness is to demonstrate that in case of any emergency, any incident, there are plans in place to address those emergency preparedness. As we, from environmental perspective, the emergency incidents. For example, if you look at there's also the NEMA-related emergency preparedness. We look also in terms of the water act-related emergencies. So basically, just to mention a few, to say there are emergency preparedness that I was also involved. On the emergency preparedness, you need to test to say if there is an emergency. In case of an emergency, what will I do? What are the mitigations that will put in place? You identify all the equipment that are required, and also for doing emergency preparedness, you need also to be able to do emergency drills. So I was also involved in terms of making sure that we run an emergency drills and making sure that we know in case of an emergency. Also look at the equipment to say the equipment are serviced correctly. For example, in case of the fire, you make sure that all the equipment are in place. So basically, those are the things that are involved in terms of also the governance, because from the work that I'm doing, as now I'm no longer an environmental impact assessment specialist. Now I'm a specialist where I oversee of the work that is being done. So basically, we appoint a specialist to run the work and review the work that is being done, and making sure that the project runs smoothly. So one thing that is important on the work that I've done is also the project life cycle. To understand, to say from the start to finish. In waste related, you'll talk about the cradle to grave or cradle to cradle. So that's basically where you run all the risk assessment and making sure that all the issues that you encounter, they are addressed off. So basically, also from my other side, as a legal scholar, I'm able to also identify in terms of the legal aspects of it, to make sure that in terms of the law, what are we required to do? Looking at also the threshold, looking also at the international standard.
Thank you,
So
Mr. Domsana. Time is up for this particular question. We are then going to move on to question number 5.
Thanks, Chair. Good morning, Mr. Tomsani. My name is Honorable Sompa Masiu. My question for you today will be, as a representative of a community or a labor on the NNR board, how do you see yourself contributing to the board's work in a way that strengthens the community or the labor voice and delivers tangible benefits for the people you represent? Thank you.
Thanks, honorable member. As the public, as a community representative, my contribution to the board is to making sure that the decisions that are being taken by the board, they involve the communities. Make sure that the voice of the communities is heard. So basically, it's basically when we talk about the public participation meeting, where it is one fundamental aspects of the regulator, to make sure that the public's views are listened to. Also make sure that when we, as a member of the community representative, make sure that the information that is communicated to the community, it is communicated timelessly, it is factual information, it is scientific-based information, so that we make sure that the people or the communities, they trust, because we need to build the public trust, make sure that we do the work in the public interest. And also, as a community representative, I will commit to ensure that the public is engaged at all times. All the decisions that are being made, make sure that the public is involved in the decision-making process. So making sure that all the decisions that are made, they are lawfully, they are just, and make sure that there is no decision that are rushed. Make sure that all the decisions that are taken are thoroughly investigated thoroughly research and make sure that the community in all those decisions, because you may find that in the communities there are specialists or there are experts in the specific field. So what we need to do, which I will do, is to make sure that all those people that I identify as the stakeholders, interested parties, or affected parties, they are engaged. Make sure that the platform is there fairly, because we need to ensure that there is a fairness in the process that is being made, on the decisions that are being made. So that is one thing that I will also be able to rally behind. Not necessarily, it's not to say I am for the community, basically I represent the community. It is not necessarily to represent the community, but it's just making sure that the community is involved in the decision making. All the decisions that are being made, they are ensure also their safety is also ensure that, say, all the process that are being taken, it is safe and just. There's also protection of the people, they need to be protected, and the environment they are living in is to also make sure that environment is protected. So as the community representative, I will make sure that we touch base on all those aspects, make sure that the community is involved, make sure that the community is able to contribute in the decision making. Because you may find in the communities, like I indicated, there are people of they are technical experts, or there are people of different, basically from different fields. So make sure that you involve all those people. You call them in one room where you get to discuss all this aspect. Make the information available to the public so that the public can prepare and respond to.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
ma'am.
We are moving on to question number 6.
Good morning, Mr. Tomsana. Can you share a specific example from your experience where you successfully represented a community or a group, and explain how that experience will guide the way you add value to the community through your role on the National Nuclear Regulator Board?
So sorry, Honorable Member, I just want can I request that you maybe repeat that one?
Can you share a specific example from your experience where you successfully represented a community or a group, and explain how that experience will guide the way you add value to the community through your role on the National Nuclear Regulator Board?
Thanks, Honorable Member. From my side, Honorable Member, thanks for the question. Where I've successfully represented the community, remember, from my side as an environmental practitioner, as an environmental specialist who ran the EIAs, it was it's not mainly, it is part of the community, because when you represent, you look after the environment, make sure that the environment is protected. That is also amount to protecting also the people, because you need to look at all the environmental aspects. So for me, I was running an environmental impact assessments, and where I've also represented the community, where I engaged the community to say, communities, these are I remember there was a mining right that we were doing, it was in Mpumalanga back then. So where we conducted an EIA, where involved the community to say, community, this is what is being proposed in terms of the mining permit, and then making sure that to say, please want to raise your views, and those views will need to be addressed. So that's one aspect of me that I will bring in to make sure that I ensure that the community members are represented. Also, from the work that I'm doing, sometimes I act as an interested and affected party, where if there is a project that is being proposed. Also, when I was in consulting, sometimes we will be appointed to say, can you be an interested and affected party, and to make sure that you look after the environment. So basically, that's what I also do, to act as an interested and affected party. Even on the work that I do, you may sometimes you find that on the company that I work for, sometimes you find that there are projects that are proposed in the nearby. For example, we are interested or affected, so where we need to play a part, where we also share our own experiences, share also the studies that could be conducted. One other example that I've got is I think it was about last week, where we needed to engage a competent authority in the Western Cape and engage on the decision that have been made in terms of how the environmental classification has been changed. So those are the things that basically, I was also I was with the team. So where I was presenting in terms of the issues that we identify on the laws that were being made, and also it has to do strangely. So it has to do also with the public engagement. So where there was a view that there is also some of the public participation was not conducted in a fair manner where you involve all the stakeholders. So basically, those are the activities which I've undertaken and also presented on those forums to engage the public and make sure that all the public concerned are listened to, and make sure that the process is transparent, and also it makes sure that the safety of the people and the environment is also protected in that respect. Thank you, Honorable Member.
Thank you. Number 7.
Sorry, Honorable Member.
Now we're moving on to question number 7.
Can I ask you just take a sip of a glass of water?
Yes, of course.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Honorable Member. I'm back.
Okay. Honorable Bapti, number 7.
Thank you, Mr. Tumsana. What do you consider the key challenges currently facing the National Nuclear Regulator, and which suggestion would you make in order to address this challenge?
Honorable Member, can I request that you repeat that? What challenges?
What do you consider the key challenges currently facing the National Nuclear Regulator, and which suggestion would you make in order to address this challenge?
Thanks, Honorable Member. One challenge that I can think of at this point in time, it is the aging infrastructure. So the aging infrastructure may be viewed at a time to say it poses the safety-related risk, and then but what needs to be done when there's aging infrastructure? And because I think I read some also following up on the activities that are being done from my research that I'm also conducting, is to say on the aging infrastructure, what needs to be done in also to make sure that this are addressed. I remember there was one time where ESCOM has requested the extension in terms of their authorization. So what is required is to ensure that when that is done, there is a scientific base research that is conducted to say, since now there's an age infrastructure, but you want to extend its lifespan, what are the impacts what are the negative impacts that it will pose to people, to the property, and the environment? So basically, that's one other aspect that is there. One other aspect that is there is basically the emergency preparedness. Emergency preparedness. So emergency preparedness is the one that needs to be practiced regularly. You do evacuation procedures. You make sure that all the issues that you encountered are also looked at. So those are the other risks that you find. Also, one other aspect is in the aspects of the special skills, basically, in relation to the nuclear related work. So where we need to have the experience, also the knowledge. That's what will inform in terms of decision making, where you make a scientific decisions that are proven evidence-based, basically. So those are the other issues. Also, one other challenge that is there is the challenge of the public interest, the public trust. So the public at times do not really trust the regulator to say, you're making a decision, you allow ESCOM to extend the lifespan of the plant, but it was designed based on the old design, basically. So, but now, how do you allow it to move forward? It poses health effects. It poses also the environmental impacts. So the public trust, that's what is required. You need to come closer to the public, say, public, this is what is being proposed. These are the studies that are being that are conducted. Communicate that information earlier. Involve the public. Make sure that the public understand. Make sure that you don't only just tell what maybe the solution that are there. It is evidence based. So those are the challenges that I can think of at this point in time. Thanks, Honorable Member.
Thank you. Can you please take question number 8, Honorable Member?
Thank you very much, Chair. Mr. Tumsana, I'll be asking you the 8th question. Considering the responsibilities of this particular role and the time required to serve on the board, please can you demonstrate with examples, your time management skills and how you prioritized your tasks. Thank you.
Remember, apologies. I would like to ask you to repeat again.
All right, given the responsibilities of the role and the time required to serve on the board, please demonstrate with examples your time management skills and how you prioritized your tasks.
Thanks, Honorable Member. I managed to get it now. Based on okay. On my time management, basically what I do is to make sure that firstly I look at the task at hand, look at the priorities, understand to say how do we prioritize the work, because you will get a lot of work, yes, but you must what I do, I prioritize the work, check which work is a priority, which we need to respond quickly. Because at times you will find that some work you don't just respond, you need to do your thoroughly research. So basically on that I will make sure that I arrange my time where I set the priorities and also look at the deadlines to say when must we be able to fulfill a specific duties that we've got, and also what is the work that is associated with that. Basically, it's understanding the work. If needs be, you need to. I need to call maybe a technical aspect in the field. I would be able to say, can I have a technical aspect who's going to be able to assist in that role? So basically, it's not only I'll not only be managing my time, it's also to be able to liaise with the other stakeholders to say, come, can you come and let's sit down and talk about this thing, because this is the issue that I'm facing. So basically, the consultation will be one other aspects that I'll bring on board in terms of managing my time and making sure that the work is done thoroughly, and then the work is based on the evidence. It is not just a rush work. It is thoroughly researched, and then it's evidence-based. So that's how I'll manage my time, making sure that all the work that I'm doing is planned accordingly. So basically, the planning of work, that's what normally that I do. When I get projects, because for example, if I make an example, I'm working for the whole of the Western region, on the Western region ports. So what I do, I get number of projects that are scattered around. So what I do, I sit down and look at the phase of each project and make sure that this project, there is a phase of this project, and then what is the priority that is needed? Is there any studies that are conducted previously? How do we work around that? So basically, it's trying to prioritize the work that I need to do. So basically, that's how I will manage my time. Thanks, Honorable Member.
Thank you. Can you please take question number 9, Honorable Member?
Thank you, Mr. Tumsana. This is Honorable Wayne Thring, and the 9th question is as follows. Good corporate governance is an important element in building a capable and ethical public sector. In your role as the board member, which governance priorities would you ensure the NNR adheres to ensure good corporate governance standards?
Honorable Member, thanks for the question. I just did not get the first part of your question. Could you please repeat that question, please?
Let me repeat. Good corporate governance is an important element in building a capable and ethical public sector. In your role as a board member, which governance priorities would you ensure the NNR adheres to ensure good corporate governance standards?
Thanks, Honorable Member. I managed to get the question now. So basically, in terms of the role that I'll play in terms of ensuring the corporate governance, because corporate governance is also being able to work with other spheres of government, and being able also to one important aspect in terms of the corporate governance is basically where you are able to complement each other. So by so doing, I will make sure that one aspect that will work on the cooperation with each other is also because the role is also of the public representative, is make sure that when we work, we make sure that the public is also centered in terms of our decision that we're making. So make sure that all the stakeholders, we get the stakeholders all together That's basically where we ensure that on stakeholder engagement processes are in place, make sure that there's a fairness in terms of the information that is being communicated. So cooperatively, I will make sure that I engage all the stakeholders that are involved. Where necessary, call all the stakeholders, make sure that we sit down and we brainstorm the issues that we encountered, and also we look in terms of the research that maybe that has been undertaken in one sphere of the governance. Make sure that all those we are able to work together as a team. Basically, it's all about also the teamwork, making sure that the work that is being done involves everybody. There is a proper engagement. There is also timeless communication, and also there is also the participation of every member, and also of every maybe the interested and affected parties, and also the government spheres. Because maybe you may find that the issue that is being raised, it lies within the other departments. So cooperatively, we need to engage all that department to make sure that the information is addressed, and make sure you get all the necessary support that is required. Thank you, Honorable Member.
Thank you. Can we please get the 10th question?
Thank you, Mr. Tomsana. Number 10, do you have any personal, financial, or professional interests that could affect or be perceived to affect your ability to perform this role impartially?
Thanks, Honorable Member. I just want to get, do I have financial? I just did not get the next part.
Do you have any personal, financial, or professional interests that could affect or be perceived to affect your ability to perform this role impartially?
Thanks, Honorable Member. Personally, I don't have any personal or financial interest that I've got, because what is required in terms of this particular role is a person that can act independently, act impartially, and be able to deliver on the mandate, and also commit to make sure that the work that is being done, it is done in a lawful and justifiable manner. So basically, I would ensure that there is no. I would ensure that the work that is being done, it is done in a proper manner. It is also done in a just and lawful manner, because all the work that needs to be done, you need to also to observe if I can think of maybe the Constitution of the Republic. I think it talks about the supremacy of the Constitution, where all laws and conducts are subject to the Constitution. So also in this case is to make sure that the work that I'll be doing is work that is just, the work that is lawful, the work that also respect the rule of law, the work that is independent, transparent, that is also evidence-based. So in so doing, I just want to demonstrate, say, I don't have any financial interest, personal, or that could be perceived, other than to make sure that I serve the public's interest, make sure that the protection of the people and the protection of the property and that of the environment protected against the nuclear damage. So basically, that's what I will do. I do not have any maybe gain that will be maybe obtained, other than to make sure that the work is done partially and independently. So, thank you, Honorable Member.
Thank you. We are now going to go through the last question, question number 11. As a board member of the National Nuclear Regulator, you receive a confidential report indicating that a nuclear facility has not fully complied with updated international safety standards. Senior government officials privately suggest delaying enforcement to avoid political fallout and economic disruption. How would you respond? And what actions would you take to uphold integrity and ensure nuclear safety?
Thanks, Honorable Member. Can I request, can just maybe you repeat that question?
Okay, just to indicate it's a scenario. So please just follow, because it's a question that will require you to respond based on a scenario that you've been given. So here goes. As a board member of the National Nuclear Regulator, you receive a confidential report indicating that a nuclear facility has not fully complied with updated international safety standards. Senior government officials privately suggest delaying enforcement to avoid political fallout and economic disruption. How will you respond, and what actions will you take to uphold integrity and ensure nuclear safety?
Thanks, Honorable Member. Thanks for the question. Mine, first thing that is important as part of the board member is to make sure that I do my work independently. I do my work transparently. I do my work with integrity. I do my work also making sure that it is done at my utmost best. It also do my work in terms of the scientific base. So when there is a report that maybe you said the report maybe it's a classified, for example, that may be how I understand it. So one thing that I do, I need not to feel the pressure, the political pressure, whether also commercial pressure that I need to do. I need to be able to make my decision partially and impartially, make my decision independently. I need not to be subjected to the pressure that will get, because everywhere we go, you would find that there is a pressure that comes on the side. But what is important is the professionalism. So in the work me as a professional and maybe as a board member, I will make sure that the information that I get will sit around the table, and I do not succumb to a political pressure or commercial pressure. So I need to act independently, make sure that I commit to the people of the Republic, and also I'm subject to the constitutional provision and the law, the principle of law. Basically, I need not to be maybe persuaded because of political gain, because the work that I do, it is not of political gain. It is making sure that we protect the people, making sure that the environment is protected, making sure that we don't have any issues that will negatively impact on us. Because it is pretty much important. If you look, for example, you make me think of I think it's our environmental rights. I think section 24 of the Constitution that says we need to be we've got a right to environment that is protected, that is not harmful to the health of and the well-being of our current and the future generation. So basically, what I need to do, my decision that I take, they should be independent, partially, so that I don't only satisfy the people of today. I need to also to think about what will come after the people of today. So basically, that's one issue, that's one aspect which I need to be mindful of. I cannot succumb to the political pressure, but the only thing that I need to do as a board member is to make sure that my information or my work that I conduct myself in an independent, impartial, and in a transparent, and so must also observe integrity and making sure that the work that I do, it also involves or it also engages the stakeholders. I must also engage the stakeholders and also engage the public. So basically, if you get, for example, the information that I would receive, I would make sure that the information is read and understood. Sorry, remember?
As you wrap up, your time is up for this question.
Oh, sorry, remember. Sorry. My apologies for that.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Tomsana. That brings us to the end of the interview.
Thanks, Honorable Member.
Okay, so honorable members, please don't forget to also score on D, because D is your discretion on. Good morning, Mr. Dube, and welcome to the interviews. You are with honorable members of the Portfolio Committee on Electricity and Energy, who will be asking you questions. We have 11 questions that we are going to ask you, and the interview will last for 45 minutes. In each question, you will have 3 minutes to respond, and you are being timed. So when you have passed the 3 minutes for the response in each question, you will be asked to kindly stop so that we move on to the next question.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we are starting with the first question. In your opinion, what qualities and competencies are essential for a member of the board of a public entity to possess to effectively fulfill their mandate? Please demonstrate in your response how your past experiences make you a suitable candidate for this position.
All right, thank you. Can you hear me, members?
Yes, we
All right.
can.
Thank you. So, as a the board member, I think what is important is that one ought to be honest and ought to be ought to have the integrity attribute. Also to be loyal to the institution. In that now, if I am nominated for the board position, it will require that I pay my allegiance to the institution that I will be participating in. That is the nuclear board. I think those are the attributes of integrity, honesty, basically all the fiduciary duties.
Thank you. Honorable Malem with question number 2.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Dube, in your understanding, what are the functions of the NNR board?
The board is responsible for making sure that the society is safe from any hazard that may flow from nuclear energy, be it in research, be it in ending or decommissioning the facilities, be it in licensing, the licensing permits for all the companies that the board regulates. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Babchi. Question number 3.
Good morning, Mr. Dube. Based on your understanding, what are the functions of the National Nuclear Regulator?
Sorry, I only heard what are the functions.
Based on your understanding, what are the functions of the National Nuclear Regulator?
Well, the board is responsible for licensing of permits and also ensuring that there's safety in the communities where a nuclear is involved, like the Quebec Power Station and other ones. It's just basically to ensure safety of the society, and also is also responsible for licensing, commissioning, and decommissioning of nuclear facilities.
Thank you, Honorable Hassan. Question number 4.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dube. I'll be asking the next question. If you could please demonstrate your skills in any one of the following. I'm going to list the potential areas: radiation protection, nuclear medicine, mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, mining, metallurgical engineering, HR or labor relations, environmental management, emergency preparedness and response, information technology, governance and risk management, nuclear engineering, or nuclear physics? Thank you.
All right. Thank you. From where I'm standing, I'm more on governance. The other technical aspect, I might not have sufficient knowledge of it except by research. But last year I enrolled with the Directors Association of South Africa just to gain some knowledge on governance. And I've also done a course with UCT on compliance management. And the skills that I'm having are basically on law. It's law and governance. Thank you.
Thank you. We are going to take question number 5 by Honorable Sompa Masiu.
Thanks, Chair. Mr. Dube, as a representative of the community or the labor on the NR board, how do you see yourself contributing to the board's work in a way that strengthens the community or labor's voice and deliver tangible benefit for the people you represent? Thank you.
All right, thank you. So I think as a public representative, I would be responsible as a kind of a bridge between the community and the board. The board knowing that there is Mr. Dube in the board who is asking the relevant questions to the regulator, to the board. And I've been part of leadership since university, advocating for students. So I've gained experience in that, and currently the Mpumalanga Tennis Association Secretary. So I know and experience on how to deal with community issues. And also, I'm also the Deputy Treasurer General of NADEL. I also that in my experience to advance and ask the relevant question on behalf of the people. And as a board member, I think I would be able to bridge that particular gap and also ask that the voice of the community be taken into account, and also encourage that the board take cognizance of the community's voice when making decisions. I think in most instances, the mandate of the board and the community concerns around safety are not contradictory. They are working, I think they are working hand on hand. So I think that would be my role.
Thank you. We are going to move on to take the next question from question number 6 from Honorable Nkosi.
Mr. Dube,
Morning, sir.
can you share a specific example from your experience where you successfully represented a community or a group, and explain how that experience will guide the way you add value to the community through your role on the National Nuclear Regulator Board?
Yes, currently I'm representing a mining community around Barberton as their attorney. And gained so much experience from that particular communities. There are lots of issues that come in, and we manage through the trustees, and we give what is important when you deal with a community is to be in constant in touch with the community and get to know their grievances and also addressing them. So if I am in this board, I am able to assist the board in taking care of the community needs, as long as we ensure that the communication platforms are open between the community and the board. And there are also labor tenants cases which I dealt with, and we managed to resolve them either through agreements or through the court. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to take question number 7 from Honorable Paulson.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Good morning, Mr. Dube. Mr. Dube, what do you consider the key challenges currently facing the National Nuclear Regulator, and what suggestions would you make in order to address those challenges?
In my research, whilst I was studying this subject, I realized that the current questions that are outstanding is the question of Quebec nuclear plant, which was extended with some few years. I think it is 20 years. And the issue there is what happens to the waste that is currently piling, and I understand it's closer to full capacity. So my view in that would be to start the conversation early on how to resolve that particular issue. And also, I think there's also an issue around the Pelindaba, the research center. That particular facility was also designed to dispose, I think, this waste temporarily. I think it was a temporary arrangement. Even there, I would still advance arguments, or maybe not arguments, maybe conversations that these issues are attended in time. We do not wait until there's a disaster, like it happened in other countries. Then we start wanting to resolve those disasters. I think we must ensure safety insofar as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. We are moving on to question number 8, Honorable Hassan.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Mr. Dube, I'll be asking the 8th question. Considering the responsibilities of this particular role and the time required to serve on the board, could you demonstrate with examples your time management skills and how you've prioritized your tasks? Thank you.
All right. Yeah, thank you. I've played various roles and participating in various structures. So managing time for me is not a big problem. My primary business currently is in the law business, and I'm supported by a good structure there in my office with attorneys and candidate attorneys. And in my office, I prioritize what is normally called the 2080 rule. Focus on the most vital parts of the business, ensuring that it runs smoothly. And also on the other position that I'm holding of the Mpumalanga Teens Association, we normally have meetings once a month, and also in Nadel, we have meeting once in a while. So time management, I use that 20/80 principle. I focus on what matters the most and get the best out of it. Thank you.
Thank you. We move on to question number 9, which is going to be asked by Honorable Drink.
Thank you, Mr. Dube. Question 9 is with regards to good governance. And good governance, good corporate governance, is an important element in building a capable and ethical public sector. In your role as the board member, which governance priorities would you ensure the NNR adheres to ensure good corporate governance standards?
All right, thank you. I think it's independent. I think it should be independence, that the board should be seen to be independent and ensuring safety. Yeah, it's independence, and I think also all the principles that are in the code 4 of the King's Code, all these principles be followed to the letter, not only in the form of a textbook, but also be brought in practice. The institution must show accountability and ethical leadership, and it must show impartiality. So I think those are the principles which should guide the good governance. Yeah, I think those are the most important.
Thank you. We are going to take question number 10, which will be asked by Honorable Milem.
Thank you, Chairperson. Mr. Dube, do you have any personal, financial, or professional interests that could affect or be perceived to affect your ability to perform this role impartially?
No, I do not have any conflict of interest in this regard, because my business is mostly law and security guarding training. So I do not have currently any interest that would link me to the functions which the board is established for. Thank you.
Thank you. We are now going to go through the last question, which is question number 11. As a board member of the National Nuclear Regulator, you receive a confidential report indicating that a nuclear facility has not fully complied with updated international safety standards. Senior government officials privately suggest delaying enforcement to avoid political fallout and economic disruption. How would you respond, and what actions would you take to uphold integrity and ensure nuclear safety?
I think with that, I would first pass off the board and ensure that they are aware of this particular happening, and also advise them to talk to the Minister of Nuclear and Energy, and encourage them to act with the necessary speed, and also if there are communication protocols also be followed in case of danger. Thank you.
Thank you. That brings us to the end of this interview. Thank you for your participation.
Thank you.
particularly at a at a civic level. I've occupied a position of a director of fundraising. I've occupied a position on governance within SANCO, which is a civic organization. I've occupied a position of running corporate affairs within Artificial Renaissance, which is a civic organization tasked with development of programs that would actually ensure that there's cohesion within our society and the rebirth of our country's democracy within our communities. I've been involved in different levels within my work environment at both executive level, reporting to the board as well. So, and as well as I have actually gained experience within a regulatory environment, particularly working for the telecoms a regulatory environment within South Africa, having customers as regulators around the world, negotiating with them and sitting on issues of enforcement within the industry. So that experience all around that has given me enough exposure to know that definitely I would be able to be competent and contribute to the position that that I'm being interviewed for. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll take question number 2, Honorable Milam.
Thank you, Chairperson. Mr. Tladi, what is your understanding of the functions of the NNR board? What do they do?
Yeah, basically it's an oversight responsibility that is tasked with looking at the nuclear industry, making sure that there's compliance with regulation within the nuclear industry, making sure that at whatever material times there's going to be a surety that operators within the industry operate within the confines of the law and they operate to the best interest of the country, but making sure that they uphold the laws as dictated within the NNR Act. In that citizens should be protected, people should be protected from any potential nuclear disaster, property should be protected, the environment should be protected, and all the licenses should make sure that they align and comply with what is required of them in terms of the Act itself. Thank you very much. And and furthermore, you have to also do your inspections to make sure that everyone aligns who is involved within the industry to align with what is required of them as players within that industry itself. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to take the third question by Honorable Bapti.
Good morning, Mr. Tladi. Based on your understanding, what are the functions of the National Nuclear Regulator?
It's based on my understanding. Firstly, it's licensing. You have the responsibility to license operators within the nuclear industry, number one. Number two is to actually make sure that they conduct inspections that would make sure that whoever is involved within the industry actually complies with what is required from them, particularly with issues of safety, because safety is a critical issue of the country. I mean, we know examples of areas where there has been nuclear disasters. Whilst there may have been a challenge with the fact that some of those disasters were human errors, but then it is important for the NNR to ensure that on a regular basis there are tests, checks and balances, the inspections that are made to ensure that at whatever material time there's compliance to the Act itself, and in terms of storage of nuclear waste material, in terms of making sure that the operations do not end up impacting negatively on communities, making sure that they build capacity to be able to handle matters that involve the nuclear industry, and making sure that there's capacity in terms of moving forward, building into the future and the growth of the industry, and making sure that whoever is generating or making or providing services within the industry itself do that under the auspices of the Act, the NNR Act itself. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to take the fourth question, which will be asked by Honorable Hassan.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Mr. Hladi, if you could please demonstrate your experience in any of the following categories, and I'm going to list them for you. Radiation protection, nuclear medicine, mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, mining, metallurgical engineering, HR or labor relations, environmental management, emergency preparedness and response, information technology, governance and risk management, nuclear engineering, or nuclear physics. Thank you.
All right. I am currently a member of the PSIF, and the PSIF is public. It's what we call the Public Safety Information Forum. The Public Safety Information Forum within the nuclear industry is responsible, amongst others, of taking care of making sure that you inform communities or educate communities as far as nuclear is concerned and the issues of safety surrounding nuclear. That's number one. And number two, at governance level, I've sat on different boards of civic organizations as well as corporate within the space of telecom. So I'm fairly au fait with what is required when one deals with a board and in terms of executing one's fiduciary responsibilities required of a board member. In terms of nuclear exposure, I've read a lot about the nuclear industry, though I may not have studied for nuclear sciences, but I've always been aligned with the nuclear industry because I've been involved in activities that involved NEXA, which is not too far from my place, from a community level. Always curious about what happens within the NEXA environment and always going out there to make sure that one gets involved in terms of educating our communities as far as nuclear is concerned. In terms of mechanical engineering, I've been involved with a number of odd jobs that have involved building up structures at the mechanical level. Though it has not been very, very big work that I have actually got involved with, but it was a good environment to actually expose me as to the environment, what it entails, what's required, and as well I've got expertise with people that I work around with who have the knowledge to actually infuse or educate me as to what is actually happening within that particular environment. My expertise spans from national to international in terms of being involved with companies at a very high executive level of authority, even at government level, particularly my responsibilities, which were within, from Central to the Eastern Europe, where I used to interact quite a lot with ministries. And that is where some of the experience I actually acquired with regard to dealing with matters at that level of involvement. In terms of exposure to the nuclear industry, I've been exposed to the nuclear industry from the earlier eras of the PBMR when it was still operational up until it was mothballed. I've been exposed in that environment. So
thank you, Mr. Hladi.
Yeah, thank you.
We are going to move on to take the fourth question from Honorable Sompa Masiu.
Thanks, Chair. My question will be, as a representative of the community or labor on an NNR board, how do you see yourself contributing to the board's work in a way that strengthens the community or the labor's voice and delivers tangible benefits for the people you represent? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Firstly, as a community activist, I've always advocated for the nuclear industry participants, namely UNEXA, being actively involved in informing communities and educating communities about the nuclear industry. That's number one, and getting them ready to an extent of pushing even for academic involvement, pushing for schools of nuclear. I was one of the people who was active in pushing for the School for Nuclear Specialization in Absidville to make sure that at least curricular points to developing skills for future use within the nuclear industry. That's number one. And number two, I'm a proponent of fair treatment within the industry, in that it is important for communities to get involved with and understand the nuclear industry in its entirety, particularly people who are living within affected communities, to understand what is involved. And it's important to regularly educate even the labor as to what nuclear involves, the issues of nuclear, the risks of the nuclear industry. Taking care of, for instance, there were cases there which were involved regarding people who were claiming against NEXA for their medical conditions or medical risks. I would actually be involved in such cases to try to assist the institution and the employees to make sure that at least there's some a point of agreement, or there's some level or a balanced approach in making sure that everyone or each of the parties is actually satisfied. So my involvement has quite been active as far as issues of labor is concerned within the nuclear industry, and as far as communities are concerned, and with even with nuclear participants or nuclear service providers assisting communities with softer issues, for instance, of risk management, issues of taking care of the environment and averting environmental damage, educating communities as to the facility, the risks of the facility, and ensuring that people remain safe, and they understand that if ever, for instance, emergencies, what would be required, how would they have to actually act in order for them to preserve their safety. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hladi. We are going to move on to take question number 6, Honorable Nkosi.
Mr. Clary, can you share a specific example from your experience where you successfully represented a community or a group, and explain how that experience will guide the way you add value to the community through your role on the National Nuclear Regulator Board?
All right. Firstly, the issues of nuclear, as I indicated, we are involved within the PSIF, which is a Public Safety Information Forum. That group virtually was non-existent, and we were part of the people who founded the group, who engaged NEXA as to what NEXA's responsibilities is towards the community of affected people who live around the facilities of nuclear. That's number one. And that initiative, we ended up even pushing for a forum that would actually necessarily expand to NEXA absorbing companies within the community that would actually be part of their enterprise supply development program, in that they should actually get actively involved in making sure that as part of the affected communities, they become stakeholders in making sure that they assist with service delivery within the whole nuclear industry itself. And from a board perspective, it is important because we have to also recognize that NNR is guided by a certain number of acts. Some of which would be your PFMA, and some of it would be your Preferential Procurement Act. And it is important for NNR as an institution to ensure that all those who participate within the nuclear industry as stakeholders or as service providers should align with the regulation as it stands. We should have people our communities should be involved with the development of nuclear as an industry, particularly with the upcoming development that's going to be coming as far as the build of the SMR is concerned, as well as the new MPR. It would be important for communities not to only get involved at the level where they're being informed that nuclear is safe, the current public dosage of operators is below this level and things like that. It should go further to say that even the small businesses within the nuclear space or our communities get a touch of and get a slice of what is actually happening within the industry itself, but also they should be aware of issues that involve community safety. For instance, communities should understand that should there be a disaster at whatever material time, what would be the emergency procedures that would need to be followed. And
Thank you
that's
so
what it is. Thank you very much.
Thanks. We're going to move on to take question number 7 by Honorable Paulson.
Thank you, Chairperson. Good morning, Mr. Clady. Mr. Clady, what do you consider the key challenges currently facing the National Nuclear Regulator, and what suggestion would you make in order to address those challenges?
Part of the challenges that we have identified or I've identified is the issue of reporting. There's a crisis of reporting because now there's a divide between what communities around nuclear facilities expect from the NNR in terms of enforcement, in terms of regular update as to what is happening in that environment and actual reports that come out. That's one issue. Number two, building capacity to be able to manage the nuclear industry, particularly from a safety perspective, developing capacity to be able to handle issues of safety, particularly as we go through into our new nuclear build program. So it is important that whilst the NNR would not necessarily actively be an institution that would develop that capacity, but we have to push for capacity to be developed right from elementary levels of education, right up until your tertiary, even post-tertiary levels of education, because that would actually assist that at whatever material time we ensure that we have got the capacity of people who will be able to talk to the issues that actually emerge within the nuclear industry. And number three, looking at issues of handling of nuclear waste, because that is very, very critical. Sometimes you'd find when you talk to people that there are some areas where they found some containerized nuclear waste being exposed or not being properly secured and things like that. Whether or not we could say that is true or false, but then we should always err on the side of caution to ensure that some of these things we take in the NNR should take initiative as an institution to make sure that such information gets dispelled as untrue, or at least it gets proven that such events do not necessarily occur. And regular inspections would be part of the activities that would be engaged in when one wants to actually verify any information that comes out of our external environment. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to move on to take question number 8 from Honorable Hassan.
Thank you very much. Considering the responsibilities, there we go, considering responsibilities of the role and the time that's required to serve on this particular board, could you demonstrate with examples your time management skills and how you prioritize those tasks? Thank you.
Yeah. Firstly, what we obviously have to understand within the role of the board would in more often than not times not be executive, because they would be the responsible for providing the strategic direction of an institution, and in this case it would be responsible for determining the strategic direction of the NNR in terms of what it needs to execute in terms of its plans. So obviously meetings would be part of the responsibility of getting involved in assessing whether the institution is going in the right direction. Currently, I'm involved in activities, particularly of a civic nature, where I'm sitting both at national for a civic organization as well as at provincial level. And as I'm sitting now, I am fairly capable of managing my time in terms of my responsibilities, purely because of the fact that we've got a structure of people who are actually sitting out there who would actually be able to carry out tasks as mandated. Now, looking at this position, obviously it would be a position that would actually involve interacting very much with executive agents or executive employees within the institution itself, starting from your CEO, who would actually be charged with the day-to-day responsibilities of carrying the mandate of the NNR. And my responsibility as such would come in at a level where we have to assess as to the progress of what is happening, how far we've actually gone in terms of executing the tasks as planned, and be able to sit down and take corrective actions. But definitely time is sufficient. I do have time to take care of some of these responsibilities to ensure that the organization ultimately achieves its strategic goals. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We are then going to move on to take question number 9. Honorable Drink.
Thank you, Mr. Tlali. Good corporate governance is an important element in building a capable and ethical public sector. In your role as the board member, which governance priorities would you ensure the NNR adheres to ensure good corporate governance standards?
Thank you. Thank you for the question. And not only within NNR itself, but within all institutions that involve governance, it is important for one, as a representative or a governance representative, to have high ethical values moving forward as a practitioner, because it is impossible or even difficult for one to be able to be a director of an institution, and when you do not, where if you do not uphold high ethical principles, it actually compromises one. That's number one. And even adherence to the law, it is important that one observes that when you are a director, you are not there in your own accord, or you have not actually deployed yourself to be a director. You have been put in that position to be able to exercise a proper oversight responsibility of running ethical leadership. So it is important for one to be beyond the reproach as far as ethical character, ethical principles is concerned. Issues of corruption, for instance, should be called out loud immediately, because my belief is that there's always fair dealings in business without necessarily having to actually contravene one's ethical standard to be able to achieve whatever it is that needs to be achieved. So for me, ethics comes first, and being principled as a director, making sure that one does the correct thing, carrying out your responsibility and accountability in a manner that actually displays that one is actually a responsible or good corporate citizen. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We're going to take question number 10. Honorable Milam.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Tlali, do you have any personal, financial, or professional interests that could affect or be perceived to affect your ability to perform this role impartially?
Not that I know of. The only thing that I have done as part of our involvement within the NEXA itself, what we had done is we had pushed for what we call an ESD, Enterprise Supply Development Program, that, as I actually alluded on or indicated earlier on, and my company was one of the companies that was actually listed within NEXA itself about a number of years ago, where I've been seeking. But wherever there's conflict, obviously I would have to recuse myself or exclude myself from actually fund him for such a business, because then that would actually present a situation of conflict of interest. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tladi. We are then going to take the last question, which is question number 11. It's a scenario, so you can just follow and answer based on it. As a board member of the National Nuclear Regulator, you receive a confidential report indicating that a nuclear facility has not fully complied with updated international safety standards. Senior government officials privately suggest delaying enforcement to avoid political fallout and economic disruption. How would you respond, and what actions would you take to uphold integrity and ensure nuclear safety?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the question. It's an issue of first thing that we have to revert back to is that what is the mandate of the NNR? The mandate of the NNR is protection of people, property, and the environment. We have to analyze it from that perspective that if I'm a director, am I fulfilling my duties in terms of actually hiding the fact that there's potential nuclear disaster? Because if that is the case, then the first issue would be to first arrest the situation, to make sure that we arrest and we stop operations from happening up until we investigate as to what is happening. And consultation within my own framework of the country would have to actually be the second part, or a process that moves in tandem with making sure that we mothball all those operations that are involved. That's another thing. And then number three, but what is more critical is to ensure that one stops the operation, because potentially it could become a damaging situation where our reputation and everything that goes with it would actually be impacted as a result of actually us putting a lid on a potentially disastrous situation. But needless to say that it would not suffice or prudent to actually run up to the stage of the media to actually shout at the top of our voices that this is what is happening within the environment. So meaning that moving from there, what would be critical is for us to be able to handle that situation internally, to make sure that we control whatever it is, we take necessary emergency steps that would ensure that we avert the disaster as much as possible. The incident, yes, would be reported, but when the critical issues that involve immediate danger would actually be taken care of, just to ensure that at whatever material times, people, property, and the environment is protected.
Thank you, Mr. Tladi, for your participation. This brings us to the end of our interview. Have a great day further.
Thank you very much for the interview. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks. Bye.
You can exit, Mr. Tladi. Thank you.
Yeah. I'm looking for. Oh, yeah. There's a button. Thank you.
Good morning, Dr. Leohlela. This is.
Good morning.
Yes, this
Good
is.
morning.
Yes, this is Dr. This is.
Dr. Kanyise.
Sorry, we've been saying your name so much when you were struggling to log in. At some point, you were even admin, and we're all suspicious of admin. But now we are happy to know that it is you in the flesh who would have long started.
Oh, no, thank you.
So this is Honorable Zama Kanyase, the chair of the Portfolio Committee on Electricity and Energy Here with me are honorable members of the committee for the Portfolio Committee on Electricity and Energy, and they will be asking you the questions in this interview session for the NNR board. So we're going to go straight to the first question. In your opinion, oh, sorry, before I get into that, just for your knowledge, we are going to be giving you 3 minutes to answer each question. And then, except for the last one, question number 11, you will have 4 minutes to answer that one. So just be mindful of your time when you're answering the questions, because if you reach 3 minutes, we are going to have to respectfully cut you and move on to the next question.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. So moving on to the first question. In your opinion, what qualities and competences are essential for a member of the board of a public entity to possess to effectively fulfill their mandate? Please demonstrate in your response how your past experiences make you a suitable candidate for this position.
The qualities that I think is integrity and being ethical. So, and when you say I must demonstrate in my previous one, I have actually represented ESCOM at NEXA to do the audit on behalf of ESCOM. And I came up with the results that ESCOM has to provide NEXA with more information to do their analysis. And that was carried out and sent to the NNR.
Thank you. We are going to move on to take the next question, which will be question number 2, asked by Honorable Milam.
Thank you, Chairperson. Dr. Leotlela, in your understanding, what are the functions of the NNR board?
The NNR board is an intermediary between the CEO of NNR and the Minister of Energy. So their role is to make sure that what the functions which are dictated in the NNR Act are carried out. Safety and security and protection of the public and the environment. Those need to be carried out, and that has to be done by the NNR, and the board represents the minister in that position.
Thank you. We're going to take question number 3, Honorable Bapti.
Dr. Leotlela, based on your understanding, what are the functions of the National Nuclear Regulator?
The functions of the nuclear regulator is to protect the public, to make sure that the public is safe from all harmful effects of radiation during the operation of the nuclear facility. We have Quebec and we have NEXA. So the regulator must make sure that all the safety standards are complied with, whether local and normally international ones are also carried out into the domestic legislations.
Thank you. We are going to take question number 4, which will be asked by Honorable Hassan.
Thank you very much, Doc. I'll be asking the 4th question, and it's related to skill set and expertise. Could you, I see the camera doesn't know where I am, but it's okay, you can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you, thank you.
Okay. Could you please demonstrate your experience in any one of the following categories? And I'm just going to list them. Radiation protection, nuclear medicine, mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, mining, metallurgical engineering, HR or labor relations, environmental management, emergency preparedness and response, information technology, governance and risk management, nuclear engineering, or nuclear physics. Thank you.
Yeah, my expertise I have a previous experience in emergency planning on the NNR side, regulating both NEXA and the regulator, and ESCOM, and also large proportion of my work was on radiation protection. And then finally, I moved on to an environmental impact assessment, where we reviewed all the PBMR environmental impact projects. And the other question was on nuclear engineering. On the nuclear engineering, I actually have studied nuclear reactor physics, which was actually required for to do nuclear criticality. I hope I still have time to nuclear criticality on the storage of spent nuclear fuels. I'm going to stop there, and then I hope that answers your question.
Yes, don't compress yourself too much, Doc. You actually only answered that in 30 seconds. So you don't have too much time, but you do have time. Moving on to the next question, question number 5, which will be asked by Honorable Sompa Masiu.
Thank you, Chair. Dumela, Dr. Lotlela. My question okay, thank you that. My question will be, as a representative of the community or a labor on the NNR board, how do you see yourself contributing to the board's work in a way that strengthened the community or the labor voice and deliver tangible benefits for the people you represent? Thank you.
In terms of the Act, the public has to protect it from all harmful effects of radiation. We're operating the NEXA, and we're also operating Quebec, which are both nuclear facilities. And we also have the mining industry, which are from the gold side, which all generate radiation. So as a member of the board, in terms of protecting the public, we have to make sure that all the dose limits, radiation limits, which are all in all the documents in the regulations of the NNR, they all have to be enforced. That's number one. And those which we do not have, which, for example, when we look at the nuclear criticality, taking credit for BENAP, we do not have those. My mission is to make sure that they are also created, those policies are also designed and implemented. If I can just add one more factor, one thing that we do not actually have is non-ionizing radiation. Non-ionizing radiation is the radiation from the computers and all the lines, all the electromagnetic wave lines, which generate a lot of radiation. So we need to have the limits, those limits, as they are also implemented in Europe and also in America. So those are the things. In my last meeting at ESCOM, I gave the safety talk, and the radiation from non-ionizing effects was a very big talk. So I was hoping to see it in the NNR bill, but I didn't see it. Yes, that's one of the things that I'm looking at protecting the public from. So it will be non-radiation and non-ionizing and ionizing radiation. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. Going on to question number 6, which will be asked by Honorable Nkosi.
Ntate Leotlela, can you share a specific example from your experience where you successfully represented a community or a group, and explain how that experience will guide the way you add value to the community through your role on the National Nuclear Regulator Board?
Okay. Yes, my role on the ESCOM side, I was on the nuclear licensing side. The nuclear licensing side is an internal body, it's an internal organization within ESCOM that acts between the engineering side, all departments of ESCOM, and also NNR. So my role on that was on the environmental impact assessment, just making sure that all the specialist studies which are raised, which are conducted on behalf of the Department of Environment, they're all conducted, and all the dose limits, what has been picked up in the field and what the community is complaining about. There's various specialist studies, for example, the radiation protection side of things. They have to be, the public has to know that those comments their comments have been heard and addressed, and also those comments have also been passed on to NNR, and NNR knows about it, and NNR will also go on to do their own, what they call the public hearing. They don't call it the public hearing, they call it public hearing. They don't call it public engagement as the regulator calls it. So those are my roles. That's what I've done before on an environmental impact assessment as an ESCOM internal nuclear licensing engineer. Thank you.
Thank you. We are now going to take the seventh question, which will be asked by Honorable Bapti.
Dr. Leotlela, what do you consider the key challenges currently facing the NNR, and what suggestions would you make in order to address the challenges?
The main challenge that faces NNR and the nuclear industry is public perception. The public is very negative when it comes to nuclear because of the 3 Mile Island accident, which happened back in 1979 and put a black spot on the nuclear industry. And later on, it was the Chernobyl accident that happened in Russia in 1986, and now the recent one in Fukushima. So that is the main issues that needs to be addressed. And the only way to get that addressed is to public assurance that Quebec has been operating since 1970s, and we've never had an incident. So we need to make sure that in our all engagement, we present the positive side and indicate that some of the expertise can only be done through nuclear. And without nuclear, like nuclear medicine, yes, I had a previous parliamentarian asked that question. For nuclear medicine, we cannot have those nuclear medical isotopes without nuclear facilities. We need to present. That's a positive aspect of the nuclear industry that we need to have. And we also have to make sure that the design of the nuclear industry that we have now is much more safer than what we had back in the 1970s. Like the 3 Mile Island accident was based on the old design. So what we have now, the designs are much more safer. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Doctor. Now we move on to question number 8, which should be asked by Honorable Hassan.
Thanks very much, Chairperson. Considering the responsibilities of the role and the time required to serve on the board, could you please demonstrate with examples your time management skills and how you prioritized your tasks? Thank you.
Yeah. The large part of time management are project-based, project management based. We need to prioritize the project in terms of the agency. Which one is much more urgent? What do we need to look at now? And I am actually going to look at, just give an example. The question was also relating to give an example. We had just the LTO, the long-term operation at Quebec, where we changed the steam generator, what we call the SGR, the steam generator replacement project. In those projects, there were some of the projects which were passed by the window, the project window. And we had to make sure that the window is still open for them and make sure that we don't go beyond that. That function, that task is completed and it is done in time. And just make sure that the engineering in future does not miss its time frames. So the project management, if I just to make sure that I answer the question, is much more on the project times and also the scheduling. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now take question number 9, which will be asked by Honorable Dreng.
Thank you, Dr. Leotlela. Question 9 is with reference to good governance. And good corporate governance is an important element in building a capable and ethical public sector. In your role as a board member, which governance priorities would you ensure the NNR adheres to to ensure good corporate governance standards?
The two main ones that I can think of now, it's public safety and also the finance. Without the finance, we will not be able to do what we technically are required to do. So it is finance and public safety. The public safety is a core business of the nuclear regulator. Without that, we will be failing what is empowered to what is given to us in terms of the NNR Act. So public safety is point number one. And number two is to make sure that we operate within the finance and the finance of the financial ambit of the regulator. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to take the 10th question, which will be asked by Honorable Milam.
Thank you, Doctor. Do you have any personal, financial, or professional interests that could affect or be perceived to affect your ability to perform this role effectively and impartially?
Yes, I need to give the answer as honestly as honest. You will have seen in my CV that I also have a company that is registered, Neutronics Nuclear Consulting. That company is not functioning. So that is one thing that is more like a declaration of what. I'm glad for that question came up. That company is not functioning, and then if I'm appointed, that company will not work. I hope that answers the question, because that was part of what I would have to declare either in this meeting or before. You can actually go back and look at my CV. You will see Neutronics Nuclear Consulting Services. That basically the plan was to use all my experience from the nuclear regulator and also from ESCOM and do consulting work. And I have not been able to use that company. Instead, I am basically using my, for additional income, I'm using my guest house. So those are the two companies that you will see. So there will be no, conflict of interest from my side. I'm telling you now that that company is not functioning.
Thank you. We will now take the last question, which is a scenario. So please do follow, Doctor. As a board member of the National Nuclear Regulator, you receive a confidential report indicating that a nuclear facility has not fully complied with updated international safety standards. Senior government officials privately suggest delaying enforcement to avoid political fallout and economic disruption. How would you respond, and what actions would you take to uphold integrity and ensure nuclear safety?
The answer to that question is integrity. First of all, integrity of an individual. In this case, you're talking about me. In my position, my integrity is at stake here, is being tested. And also the public safety is also being tested. My job is to make sure that the public is safe, and I will not be holding or sitting on a project on any information that I know can jeopardize the safety of the public. I will not be doing that. Instead, I will act immediately and make sure that verify that information is accurate. That's point number one. Verify that that information is accurate and verify where we stand with regards to the NNR, because you're saying it's an international document. So we have to know where we stand and what will be the impact. What will be the impact if that document, we sit on it. So basically, it is my integrity that's been tested, and also the safety of the public that is at risk if I sit on the document and not act on it. So the answer to your question is I will be acting on it, and for the sake of the safety of the public and the environment and the property, which are all enshrined in the NNR document. The answer is yes, I will be acting on it.
Thank you, Doctor. This brings us to the end of our interview. Thank you for your participation, and have a great day further.
Thank you very much, and thanks for all the questions. I can go now, and bye-bye. Yo, stress.
And here with me are honorable members that are a part of the Portfolio Committee on Electricity and Energy as well. And they are the ones who will be asking the questions today. So
Thank you.
we are starting with the Labour representatives now. Earlier on today, we were concluding the community reps. So we do have 45 minutes for our interview with you. And we do want to say that once you surpass 3 minutes in your response to the questions you'll be asked, we will have to stop you. But we do want to say that you can use your 3 minutes to its finality. And then if you do surpass, then we will have to kindly ask you to stop so that you can take the next questions, except for question number 11, which you will have 4 minutes. We have agreed to give 4 minutes because it's quite a long question. So with that, we are then going to start with our interview. So the first question is, in your opinion, what qualities and competencies are essential for a member of the board of a public entity to possess to effectively fulfill their mandate? Please demonstrate in your response how your past experiences make you a suitable candidate for this position.
Thank you. Thank you very much, and thank you to the committee for inviting me. I think the board primarily looks into a couple of things. One being providing a strategic direction to the organization, and in as far as that is concerned, in my role and my experiences with companies that I've worked for, I have been in charge of the safety, health, environment, risk, and quality governances. Therefore, in providing that strategic oversight, really centers around coming up with systems, governance framework to ensure the safety of people, to ensure the safety of properties and the environment. So for me, that's one of the primary functions of the board. The other one, it is really to ensure effective governance. Now, this for me is being able to hold the executive accountable. If you do not hold the executive accountable, then unfortunately you can let the executive run into just managing any facility in any way without accountability. Now, this I've demonstrated in my previous experiences by actually being in charge or being a member of different committees where we sort of looked into accountability, holding someone accountable, especially in my space as an executive leader for shared discipline, where I will hold people accountable irrespective of their position. The other one is just making sure that overseeing financial stability. Now, this is very, very important because expenditure to sustain an organization is quite critical. And the last one will be safeguarding public interest. Now, here, this is where your demonstration of stakeholder management comes quite critical, your stakeholder confidence and public interest. Because of the positions that I've held in the past, dealing with the DMRE, dealing with the public, and in as far as the mining activities are concerned, clearly demonstrated this, where you safeguard the public interest, where you ensure that what you do is quite transparent, and you engage communities, and they are sort of really understanding what it is that you do. So those, for me, demonstrate the qualities of what the board should be doing, or the qualities of individuals or functions of the board, as far as I can understand.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to the next question, question number 2, which will be asked by Honorable Madam.
Thank you, Chairperson. Mr. Malabese, focusing specifically on the NNR now, the National Nuclear Regulator, what are your understandings of the role of the NNR board? What do they do specifically?
Specifically, I think the board do probably 6 or so things. One is as I said, provide strategic oversight or direction. The second one is ensuring effective governance, which is very, very important. The third one is just overseeing financial stability of the NNR, as a whole, but most importantly, to monitor the executive performance, and this obviously goes to holding someone accountable, as I said earlier. Number 5 is very, very critical, ensuring regulatory compliance or regulatory independence. Sorry. So it is very, very important that also the board oversees that independence, because decisions that are taken, they have to be evidence-based. They have to be legally sound for NNR and its mandate, and lastly, transparent. So number 6, very much of what I'm fond of is public interest, or public to safeguard that public interest. So the board has got, for me, my understanding is those 6 are very, very critical as far as the board of NNR will be concerned. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to question number 3, which will be asked by Honorable Bapti.
Good afternoon. Dr.
Good afternoon.
Malabese, based on your understanding, what are the functions of the National Nuclear Regulator? The regulator.
Yes, sir. My understanding is they sort of oversee the licensing of facilities. They provide the oversight of the facility, which is in this case perhaps Kuberg, if I were to mention one. They sort of ensure compliance to the regulations, and they are entrusted with the safety and risk management of the facilities. And lastly, they sort of do inspections to ensure that facilities or installations are compliant to the requirements of this the regulation or the act. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now take question number 4, Honorable Hassan.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Thank you. The 4th question is, if you could please demonstrate, Mr. Malabese, your experience in any one of the following categories. So I'm just going to list them for you. Radiation protection, nuclear medicine, mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, mining, metallurgical engineering, HR or labor relations, environmental management, emergency preparedness and response, information technology, governance and risk management, nuclear engineering, or nuclear physics. Thank you.
Thank you. I have spent most of my career as an engineer and an executive leader with extensive experience in safety, health and environment, risk management and quality within the mining space. So I will pick the mining space. Part of being the executive leader is to design frameworks, governance frameworks. You have to design risk management oversight systems. These are the things, or actually the other one is compliance programs. These are the things that I've done over and over within my career as a mining engineer and mechanical engineer within the mining space. So that in itself means that you have to the number one priority is to coming up with system to protect people and to protect the assets, but also to ensure that you comply to the Mine Health and Safety Act and its regulations. Also, as I said earlier, stakeholder management. We've seen quite a lot of community involvement in mining programs in the last couple of years. Therefore, as an executive, that was my space as well, to ensure that the public understand our activities, and also there's transparency from the mining organizations in as far as that we do in terms of our activities, whether we destroying the environment or we sustaining it. So mining, as far as I'm concerned, that's basically that's the one that I can choose out of the list that you gave me. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Sompa Masiu will ask question number 5.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Malebasi, my question will be, as a representative of the community or labor on the NNR board, how do you see yourself contributing to the board's work in a way that strengthens the communities or labor's voice and delivers tangible benefit for the people you represent? Thank you.
Thank you very much. So the first one is to drive transparency. Through transparency, the public will be able to see that the NNR is complying to the Act itself. The NNR is it's following the governance frameworks designed to ensure that the protection of people and property and environment, which can result from nuclear damage, are being absolutely followed. The regulation, through transparency, it will also give public confidence that regulations are properly followed, and thirdly, through transparency, it will also ensure that there is compliance within NNR. Therefore, governance frameworks, 2 risk oversight systems, 3 compliance by NNR, that will be something that the public will have confidence in and will be able to see. So for me, that will absolutely bring that to the fore, where the board oversight capabilities are being seen by the public. Safety and risk is demonstrated and can be seen, and there is also strategic decision making that involves the public through public engagement and public consultations. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now move on to question number 6, which will be asked by Honorable Nkosi.
Dr. Malebisi,
good afternoon.
Can you share a specific example from your experience where you successfully represented a community or a group, and explain how that experience will guide the way you add value to the community through your role on the National Nuclear Regulator Board?
Thank you. I worked at a project. I can remember at DBS, we had a project in one of the operations, and if you allow me not to mention, but we had a project that was bordering on the community, and the community at the time was not properly consulted in terms of the extent of the project. This project was to move the open cast to an underground activity. So the community was not happy with this. One, there wasn't really proper consultation. Community was not given the first hand in terms of what transition the mine is taking by going underground. In other words, going underground to the community meant that there will be environmental damages that could result in the mine or the operation going underground. So part of me, my involvement was having workshops with the community where I took them through the transition from open pit to underground. I took the community for them to see the value in the operation moving from open pit to underground, and also the economic benefit and inclusion of the community through this project, in the sense that people or employees will benefit and not face retrenchment. So through those workshops, through those engagement, the community was able to actually see the value in this expansion, and through that they became involved. One, in the sense of supporting the project. Two, also seeing the economic value and reaping those rewards through community-based committees that I was also engaging with on a regular basis to give them the milestones that we have achieved and how that has been translated into economic value through community. So yes, that's basically what I can recall in my career as a community involved leader. So thank you.
Thank you. We're now going to take the 7th question, which should be asked by Honorable Paulson.
Thank you, Chair, and good afternoon, Mr. Malabisi. Mr. Malabisi, what do you consider the key challenges currently facing the National Nuclear Regulator, and what suggestion would you make in order to address those challenges?
I think the first one is protection of people, property, and environment. There is a misconception that nuclear installations are quite dangerous, and they are very dangerous to the environment, more so because the community has not been educated enough in terms of how waste is managed from nuclear installations. So that for me is the biggest problem. I think that if without addressing that, the community is absolutely left in the dark, and therefore will oppose, for instance, some of the advances that the nuclear regulator might be trying to build to ensure success of the country. So my suggestion, as I said, will be transparency. I go back to transparency. I go back to public engagement. I go back to actually being, perhaps taking it from the schools as well. Going to schools and making sure that the communities understand what nuclear is about, what nuclear installations is about, and also the communities to understand the whole value chain of nuclear and its benefits and towards our national grid, and also to absolutely engage them in in any other educational purposes, not waiting for a public backlash, but rather engaging them throughout to ensure that they understand how nuclear can absolutely play a role in our national grid. So for me, yes, transparency, educational themes, starting from schools and also involving communities and with dealing or working with community centers to engage them in understanding the whole value chain of how a nuclear reactor or nuclear facility or installation works, all the way to how we handle the waste. Because for me, I think that's where the challenge is currently. Lack of information and lack of understanding of particularly how a nuclear installation functions and how do we handle the waste. Thank you.
Thank you. We are going to take the 8th question, which will come from Honorable Hassan.
Thank you very much, Chair. Okay. Considering the responsibilities, Mr. Malibase, that you will have should you get appointed to the board and the time required that you would need to serve, please could you demonstrate with examples your time management skills and how you will prioritize your tasks? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I am currently the executive chair of an organization based in Alexandra called Rays of Hope. We as the board, we have our quarterly meetings, and I take very keen interest in this organization. And part of actually managing my time is absolutely being engaged and learning what the organization does. And obviously, I think what has helped me a lot also in being involved and having time for this organization is, getting the time to educate my family and friends about the organization itself. Therefore, I see myself taking the same approach where I will absolutely dedicate my time in understanding the industry. And because I'm an engineer by trade, this is not going to take time. But also the central themes throughout my career, which is public safety, good governance, sustainability development, and most importantly, to serve South Africa. So for me, those themes will make it easy for me to be able to absolutely dedicate my time to the board, because my interest, as I said, will be those key areas of protection, regulations, as well as compliance. If I achieve that, that will then give me the confidence to say I have served my nation. I have absolutely, lived my themes, which I have obviously lived throughout my career, as I said. Therefore, time allocation to this will absolutely not be a challenge at all. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Drink will ask question number 9.
Thank you, Dr. Malibesi. On the aspect of good corporate governance is an important element in building a capable and ethical public sector. In your role as a board member, which governance priorities would you ensure the NNR adheres to ensure good corporate governance standards?
Thank you. I think for me it will be good governance. To me, is doing the right thing at the right all the time. That for me is the basic or the foundation. Being ethical in whatever that you do. Therefore, what I will be transitioning to the board, or what I will be going after, if I were to be lucky to sit in the board, is having those transformational initiatives to ensure that good governance frameworks are the foundation of the board, meaning holding, doing the right thing, at all times. Absolutely, looking at the functions of the board, which then revolves around providing that strategic direction to the executive, but also ensuring that we hold the executive, we hold the executive, we monitor their performance. But not only that, I think where most boards somehow misses the point is the effectiveness of the board itself, the board performance. I think that for me feeds back into that governance, because governance should not just be the board overseeing the executive, but also how does the board measure its effectiveness? How does the board measure itself from delivering its mandate, in this case providing that strategic oversight to the NNR? So that for me, I think it's what I will be driving to. And my experiences in corporate, I believe that will come handy to contribute effectively to the NNR in as far as good governance frameworks is concerned, and risk oversight as well. Thank you.
Yes, we are going to move on to question number 10. Honorable Milam.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Malabese, is it Mr. or Doctor?
It's Doctor. Sorry.
Sorry, Dr. Malabese.
Yes, sir.
Question 10 is as follows. Do you have any personal, financial, or professional interests that could affect or be perceived to affect your ability to perform this role impartially?
None whatsoever.
Thank you. We are then going to move on to the last question for the day, question 11, which is a scenario, so please do follow. As a board member of the National Nuclear Regulator, you receive a confidential report indicating that a nuclear facility has not fully complied with updated international safety standards. Senior government officials privately suggest delaying enforcement to avoid political fallout and economic disruption. How would you respond, and what actions would you take to uphold integrity and ensure nuclear safety?
The very first step for me will be to suggest a board meeting, an agent board meeting. Granted this, I will absolutely come clean with my findings with the scenario itself. And thirdly, I will absolutely remind the board as to what our mandate is, which is good governance and risk oversight. I will absolutely urge the chair of the board to absolutely ensure that there are records that the board will have to peruse to ensure that these allegations are founded, and where necessary, the responsible executive, in this case the ops, the CEO, will have to come and explain. But parallel to that, I will be standing on my point that we need to put this progress on hold until we have absolutely clear all the allegations to ensure that we are providing that governance. So for me, I am not going to keep quiet. I do not keep quiet when I am pressurized to, even if under certain circumstances that I should go with the head. I don't do that. So I will absolutely urge the chair to convene that meeting. I will state the allegations. I will ask that we peruse the records, and if found the executive will have to be held accountable. Parallel to that, we need to put the whole thing on hold. I am not, unfortunately, will be swayed to compromise my ethical stand, to compromise the protection of people and property. And yes, I will definitely bring this to the fore. And if the chair is not giving me the platform, then there are other remedial actions that one can take, including the recusal where necessary of the chair, so that we can absolutely purge these allegations and find a solution moving forward. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Doctor. That brings us to the end of our interviews. Thank you for your participation, and do have a great day further.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon.
A member of the board of a public entity to possess, to effectively fulfill their mandate. Please demonstrate in your response how your past experiences make you a suitable candidate for this position.
Thank you so much for the question. Good afternoon, honorable members. My name is Ursula Nzubane. From the onset of my career, I have been fortunate enough to work in the public sector. From City of Joburg, then HOD of Economic Development at Ekurhuleni Municipality, then CEO of CIDB, CEO of Crossover Finance, a deputy city manager at City of Msunduzi, and then I did some consulting as well, which I still am doing. In between that, I've served on several public entity boards. And in those boards, I've always chaired the HR and Remuneration Committee. So I think what is important, if I understood the question, because it was quite loaded, the skills and experience that are needed really around leadership skills are quite important, stakeholder management and engagement, financial management, compliance. As public entities, we need to comply with various legislation, prescripts, and laws. Conflict management is also important, particularly as a chairperson, which I am now a chairperson of one of the boards. But I also, as an executive for many years, my advantage is that as a CEO and HOD, I've had this overarching oversight from different departments, which means I have to be quite knowledgeable on marketing and communications, human resources, supply chain, IT, logistics, technical departments. So with that experience, it assists me a lot when I am now part of a board that is working very closely with an executive, be it a CEO, an MD, because I have been one myself. So all that experience comes in very handy.
Thank you. We're going to take the second question by Honorable Mylem.
Thank you, Chairperson. Nzubane, in your understanding, and I'm going to be specific here, what are the functions of the NNR board? What do you see the NNR board's job to be?
Thank you. To answer that, I would first speak about the challenges that I've researched or read about. Of course, declining government funding, resource constraints within the organization. But over and above that, the implementation of the Act itself. So to make sure that we protect the environment, we've got ESG issues now, people and property when it comes to nuclear. The other challenges that we may have is skills, capacity, and resources. Making sure that we have the right skill and capacity within the organization. So as a board, there's 4 or 5 things that we would need to do as a leadership, is to steer the company to meet its strategic objectives. 2, because I spoke about the declining government grants or funding, is the issue of sustainability. So to what extent are we, or do we even have a revenue generation strategy to ensure that the government grant or funding is just seed capital? To sustain ourselves, we have to have to be quite creative in revenue generating catalytic projects that can make income for ourselves. We have a problem with the increasing fees and rates. So to what extent are we engaging our shareholder on that so that we have income? Accountability is another role that is important with NNR. How do we account to yourselves as the shareholder? How do we account to different stakeholders in the industry? And then integrity. To what extent are we open and transparent in the way we conduct business? And then compliance. How are we complying with the different regulations, the National Environmental Management Act, PFMA, the NNR Act itself, different laws and prescripts that are coming out every day from Treasury. As a board, we need to have tight oversight to ensure that we are complying, we are counting, we are ensuring, looking forward in terms of sustainability, that we have a very robust revenue generation.
Thank you.
Generating a strategy.
Thank you. Our time has run out for this question. We are to move on to the next question, which will be asked by Honorable Bhakti, question number 3.
Good afternoon, Mr. Nsibane. Based on your understanding, what are the functions of the National Nuclear Regulator?
Well, for me, it's just simple. Basically, to ensure oversight over facilities, to ensure the design and construction thereof is quite apt. Also, storage and transportation of radioactive materials is quite important. So in all that we're doing is really, in a nutshell, trying to protect the environment, to protect the citizens, to protect property when it comes to transportation, storage of nuclear.
Thank you. We are going to take question number 4, which will be asked by Honorable Hassan.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Thank you, Ms. Nsibane. We are interested in your experience in any of the following categories, and I'm just going to list them and then you can tell us a little bit about that. Radiation protection, nuclear medicine, mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, mining, metallurgical engineering, HR or labor relations, environmental management, emergency preparedness and response, information technology, governance and risk management, nuclear engineering, or nuclear physics. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So you want experience around all of them or the areas within which I have experience?
The latter, but you can even keep it specific to what you have.
Okay, thank you. Let's talk on governance and risk management, which is obviously a corporate governance requirement on all boards, as guided by King 4 and the Companies Act. Just to remember that the King 4 is just a persuasive benchmark, it's not really an act. I have served on, in fact, all the boards that I've served on, I serve on the subcommittee, except now that I'm a chair of a board of audit and risk. And my understanding of that is ensuring that we have quite a strong hold on enterprise-wide risk and industry-wide risk, because even as an NNR, we don't work in an island. So what are the industry-wide risks and then the enterprise-wide risks? And in that, once we have identified our risks, which ones do we tolerate, transfer, in other words, to insurance and so on? Which one can we terminate immediately? Will be quite important. So the monitoring and evaluation of those risk management framework will be quite important. So when I serve on those committees, I'm mostly the person who is overseeing how the executives are managing their risk framework. When it comes to HR, having chaired the HR and REMCOM committees, I've always felt that companies, NNR, for example, doesn't innovate, it does not execute. Companies don't execute or innovate, it is people who innovate and execute, and human capital is quite important. So there, I'm quite well versed in terms of performance management, how the executive should be managing performance, how the staff should be skilled, having the right people at the right places doing the right thing, and of course, incentivizing. Attraction and retention is very important. And there are three things that keep people in a company: basically recognition, incentives, and career growth. So it's one thing to attract your skill, you need to retain your skill. And also stakeholder management. I've had to deal with the labor.
Exhausted the time for this question. We are now going to take question number 5, which will be asked by Honorable Sompa Masiu.
Thanks, Chair. Good afternoon, Ms. Nsubani. My question to you will be, as a representative of the community or labor on the NNR board, how do you see yourself contributing to the board's work in a way that strengthens the community or the labor voice and delivers tangible benefits to the peoples you present? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think this speaks to stakeholder management at large. It's very important that we have a stakeholder management communications plan, because we will have different stakeholders with differing needs. For example, labor. To give an example, where I am, I have to work very closely with SAMU. We have to be seen to be listening to them. So your stakeholder management plan would really speak to who are the stakeholders, how are you communicating with them, what mediums are you using to communicate, how regularly do you communicate, keeping records of your communication with different stakeholders, particularly labor, because sometimes they can be naughty and say, well, this was not communicated to us. So the records will be quite important. But more important is the respect as a chairperson, for example, is the respect that I would give to SAMU, the head of SAMU, hearing them, listening to them, and making it very clear that we may not be able to meet all the demands depending on our resources and constraints, but as far as possible, we meet each other halfway. So I think that will be important, to be quite flexible, yet very stringent and very clear about managing expectations with different stakeholders in the community.
Thank you. We're going to take the 6th question from Honorable Nkosi.
Ms. Nzubani, can you share a specific example from your experience where you successfully represented a community or a group, and explain how that experience will guide the way you add value to the community through your role on the National Nuclear Regulator Board?
The question, sir, is how I successfully represented a community. My apologies.
The question is, can you share a specific example from your experience where you successfully represented a community or a group, and explain how that experience will guide the way you add value to the community through your role on the National Nuclear Regulator Board?
Thank you. I'm not sure. Yes, I could name a few. Let me make an example of being an HOD of economic development, and my job was around investment and employment creation. We had part of the city regions was Nigel. Nigel was the worst economically depressed area in the region. We had an investor, Consol Glass, which is there today, that had identified a piece of land belonging to government to build a 2 billion rand plant. But the MFMA doesn't allow us to just get unsolicited bids. We have to call for proposals and go back to council and have that engagement. And that can be a year or two. And we were going to lose the investment because they would have gone to the VAL or identified another piece of land. But because Nigel, the community of Nigel had absolutely nothing, high unemployment, feeling very neglected, I proposed, because within the MFMA, MFMA is not this animal that we should be afraid of. If you read it carefully, it does allow for flexibility. I think there's section 36 as well, which can be abused sometimes. I suggested that this piece of land has been sitting there for 150 years. Who is this person that is going to come? Who is this developer that is going to come and suddenly say, I want to build a hotel here and so on? So I pushed through council that we deviate for very good reasons to get Consol Glass there because of the job creations, the employment that was going to be created, and the difference it would make to the Nigel community, plus the property and rates that it will make for the city itself. And you've got Consol Glass there today in Nigel.
Thank you. We are going to take the 7th question, which is going to come from Honorable Paulson.
Thank you, Chairperson. Good afternoon, Ms. Nzubani. My question is, what do you consider the key challenges facing the National Nuclear Regulator, and what suggestion would you make to address those challenges?
Yeah, the first challenge is around the declining grant allocation and the solution would be, of course, cost containment and resource optimization. So in other words, doing a lot more with a little less. So I think this is a common problem amongst most government entities, is the creativity on how we do more with less, and the executive inculcating this culture within the organization of cost containment. But also, as I said, a revenue generation rate allows some entities, depending on the schedule of the entity, does allow for us to leverage with other entities and or get into PPPs, get into bankable catalytic projects that can then create revenue for the organization in one way or the other.
Thank you. We are going to take the 8th question, which will be asked by Honorable Hassan.
Thank you very much, Chair. Considering the responsibilities of the role and the time that's required to serve on this particular board, could you demonstrate with examples your time management skills and how you prioritized your tasks?
Time management. Sure, I've never been asked that before. But I always complete my tasks. So I segment my days. Obviously, you have a calendar. Make sure in your different responsibility, one of which is my consulting, that you do not have any clashes. I don't have a PA, so I have to manage my own time. Unfortunately, I was speaking about this earlier, about trying to get my child into a boarding school, and how that set the foundation for my brother and I. In retrospect, we didn't like it then, how it provided independence and structure in our lives. And time management was one of them. So firstly is to look at your calendar, make sure there are no clashes. And as far as possible, where they are, try and negotiate the times of the meetings, whether one is in the morning or in the afternoon. And then I spent most of my time in my consulting work, visiting clients, online with clients. I think what is important with what has happened after COVID is that we have saved time on transport and traveling, and now I didn't have to come to Cape Town. We have these Teams meetings, and sometimes they can go into the night, which is fine for me. Somebody's sitting in Cape Town, for example, in our board, people are coming, they are not all in Gauteng. I think that helps a lot to have Teams meetings. It saves a lot of time. So I guess in simple terms, that's how I best do it.
Thank you. We are now going to move on to take the 9th question from Honorable Dring.
Thank you, Mrs. Nsubane. Question 9 is to do with good governance, and considering that good corporate governance is an important element in building a capable and ethical public sector. In your role as the board member, which governance priorities would you ensure the NNR adheres to ensure good corporate governance standards?
Well, we've just had the King 5. Personally, some of these, all the kings that come up, there's a little bit of repetition or overlap. So first of all, it talks about conformity, which is compliance. So for me, that will be the focus, because if you miss that, it has an adverse effect on our AG outcomes. So compliance will be very important. How are we complying to the PFMA particularly in terms of supply chain, disposal, demand, acquisition management. And the issue of financial management, value for money, open, competitive, or effective competition, fair dealing, that would be important. And of course, reporting on any deviations would be important. So compliance is one focus area of mine. And of course, with Treasury, sure, there's a lot of prescripts now and then that we have to keep up with. The other one is ESG, which is what King 5 begins to speak on financial materiality and impact materiality. So in other words, to what extent does our work impact the environment, socio-ecological environment within our, the environment within which we work, and working with nuclear, that will be quite important to focus on the ESG issues. And quite interestingly now, King 5 speaks to the Social and Ethics Risk Committee, should largely be comprised of non-executive directors, in other words, by management, and have an independent member. So with NNR, we should try and make sure that we align to that. As I said, the King 5 is just a persuasive benchmark guide. It's not really an act, but something we should all aspire for best practice.
Thank you. We are then going to move on to take question number 10, which will be asked by Honorable Milam.
Ms. Nsibane, the question is as follows. Do you have any personal, financial, or professional interests that could affect or be perceived to affect your ability to perform this role impartially?
No, I have no interest, sir, that could affect my effecting of my responsibilities.
Thank you. We are now going to take the last question. Please do follow because it's a scenario. As a board member of the National Nuclear Regulator, you receive a confidential report indicating that a nuclear facility has not fully complied with updated international safety standards. Senior government officials privately suggest delaying enforcement to avoid political fallout and economic disruption. How would you respond, and what actions would you take to uphold integrity and ensure nuclear safety? Do I need to repeat the question?
You may, please, ma'am.
Okay. All right. So the question is, as a board member of the National Nuclear Regulator, you receive a confidential report indicating that a nuclear facility has not fully complied with updated international safety standards. Then senior government officials privately suggest you delay enforcement to avoid political fallout and economic disruption. How will you respond, and what actions would you take to uphold integrity and ensure nuclear safety?
Okay, thank you so much for the question. For me, I don't think it would be that complicated. It is a report, as you said, I think by a public citizen or a tip, would have to be investigated, in my view, firstly, in terms of the authenticity of thereof. Upon finding validity, my first point of call would be to engage with the head of the organization, the executive, the CEO. And then we look, there's two things you spoke about: avoiding political disruption and so on. Even in conflict management, I always look at issue importance, relation importance. They're both equally important. In other words, choose your battles wisely. I would engage with the CEO, who would then advise on the validity, or who would have investigated the validity thereof. We would then engage the larger board on the matter and put our heads together because it may also be a PR situation that would not be, public relations is important in terms of our reputation and reputation management. So we would have to look at the validity of the claim, investigate it, engage with the executive, the larger board, put our heads together, look at how important this issue is when it relates to our reputation. When we look at our relationships with the different stakeholders, to what extent can this affect those relationships? And I think when one head is better than, two heads are better than one. If I followed that approach, I think the best resolution would come out of it. In terms of one, should there be legal ramifications, discipline, and so on and so forth. I think politicians are quite reasonable people. I'm not sure why there would be a political disruption when the facts are brought forward and the report is accurate, the investigation has been done, the groundwork has been done, and we are very clear about how this could affect us from a PR perspective and a reputation management perspective. I think anybody would be understanding of however uncomfortable the route that we have decided to take is or enforce.
Thank you. We have come to the end of our interview. Thank you so much for participating. Do have a great day further.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, honorable members.
We do request that you use all of it. But if you do take more than 3 minutes, we will be compelled to ask you to stop so that we go on to the next question. However, question 11 will have 4 minutes allocated for you to answer because it is a bit longer than the other questions. I think we can go on to then take the first question now. In your opinion, what qualities and competences are essential for a member of the board of a public entity to possess to effectively fulfill their mandate. Please demonstrate in your response how your past experiences make you a suitable candidate for this position.
Well, afternoon, everyone. Apologies for the late logging. I was struggling there. But to answer your question, Chair, qualities, what qualities a member needs to possess? I would say top of thought, what comes to mind would be governance expertise, a bit of strategic leadership, have an ability to understand and be able to have risk oversight, a whole lot of ethics, ethical leadership, a bit of integrity, and the ability to handle complex matters and stakeholders. Why I'm suited, I would say I'm not a technical specialist, particularly within the nuclear field, but I do have governance, some regulatory oversight, I have experience with that. Since I sit in one regulatory body within the health system and a couple of boards within education. I do have public policy experience, particularly in implementation, policy implementation, and I regard myself an expert in stakeholder engagement. The combination of those skills, I would suggest would complement any board and any technical expertise within that board of the NNR. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question will be asked by Honorable Mylem.
Good afternoon, Ms. Machaya. In your understanding, what are the functions of the NNR board? Now, focus on the NNR. What are the functions of the NNR board? What are they there to do? Thank you.
From my quick research of it, it's a body I'm looking just at their mandate. It aims to protect the people, the property, and the environment against any form of nuclear damage. So that is my understanding of it. There's also a function of it where it regulates the licensing of all related nuclear installations and deals with radioactive materials and radiation practices. So in a gist, since I'm not a technical expert, but in my research, that's the gist of it. Oh, yes, public confidence as well. That's key. I almost forgot that, and that's my favorite part. Yes.
Thank you. Honorable Babti will ask question number 3.
Good afternoon, Ms. Machaya.
Afternoon.
Based on your understanding, what are the functions of the National Nuclear Regulator?
Okay. I think it's closely related to the other gentleman's questions, and it touches on a lot of my previous answer. But at its core, NNR would be an entity that regulates and balances nuclear-related activities and somehow ensuring safety of those activities at its core function. I think that the previous answer and this one combines and hopefully addresses yours.
Thank you. We are going to take the 4th question from Honorable Hassan.
Thank you very much, Ms. Machaya. There we go. Could you please demonstrate your experience in any one of the following categories? And I'm going to list them now. Radiation protection, nuclear medicine, mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, mining, metallurgical engineering, HR or labor relations, environmental management, emergency preparedness and response, information technology, governance and risk management, nuclear engineering, or nuclear physics?
My experience. Okay, I took note of ones I thought I would be able to answer. Thank you for the question. I would say when it concerns mining and nuclear mining and mechanical and electrical engineering, I've once worked in a land restitution claim. I was asked to settle it and implement its business process within a platinum mine at the time. So I have a basic understanding of a basic life cycle of a mine, an operational platinum mine. And also from there, that would mean anything from HR concerns, the basic technical expertise of what occurs in a platinum mine. That the mine I worked with was an open cast, so I have experience around that as well. As for mechanical and electrical, there was an agricultural farm, another land restitution claim, and that one dealt with trying to build, design, build, and manage a functioning, what do you call this now? Oh, the word just slipped my mind. But it was a functioning. I'll come back to that one. I'll come back to it. With information technology, I'm a trustee within a medical aid scheme, and I chair the Information Technology and Governance Committee. So I have also a member within the South African Artificial Intelligence Association. So anything that has to do with IT governance, artificial technologies, and how to apply and implement them within our systems, I have experience around those as well. Governance and risk management, that is a standard for all board memberships, and even within our own directorship in Ori Professionals, the company I work for. So anything that has to do with audits, any other internal control risks of an entity, I have experience with that as well. Why can't I get apologies? I just forgot the name of what do you call? I just lost the English word. What do you call? It'll come to me. Apologies. I literally just lost the name of uh, the building that we were helping construct within that agricultural farm. It literally the word just slipped. But those are the experiences I can attest to. Thank you.
Thank you. We are going to take question number 5, which will be asked by Honorable Sompa Masiu.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, Ms. Machayo.
Afternoon.
As a representative of the community or a labor on the NNR board, how do you see yourself contributing to the board's work in a way that strengthens the community or the labor's voice and delivers tangible benefits for the people you represent? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. I'm in research, so my actual field has to do with community facilitation. I'm really good at integrating myself with communities, building strategies that facilitate building trust with communities and confidence with communities. So when it comes to NNR, there's a whole section around public confidence, and that means always being able to communicate your findings, obviously adhering to the security and confidentiality clauses, but also being able to listen to communities' concerns, particularly when it results in interacting with the NNR. I can assist with key community facilitation strategies on that sector. And also, I'm able to gauge communities by using tools such as language, being able to understand community systems and how they work, so that you can have a really fruitful and effective relationships between the regulator and the community itself. This has also is proving to be very well, helpful within the health regulator I work with as well, whose one of their key charges is to ensure that the public trust is secured and there's public safety is secured. And we do a lot of stakeholder engagements with communities there as well. Thank you. Oh, pack house. Sorry, the previous question. The word I was looking for, Chair, was pack house.
Thank you. We are going to take question number 6, which will be asked by Honorable Nkosi.
Ms. Matsaya, can you share a specific example from your experience where you successfully represented a community or a group and explain how that experience will guide the way you add value to the community through your role on the National Nuclear Regulator Board?
Okay, I have a few. Thank you for the question. I have a few examples. I think one of the most impactful ones had to be when I had to work on a project that dealt with the services of water and electricity for community in Cape Town for a project with an entity I worked with. And we had to, the community in question had a breakdown with the municipality in the service delivery of electricity and water. And we had to bridge the gap. I was key in getting the two groups to sit down and finally listen and communicate with each other, communicate their needs. So the municipality sat down, explained their challenges in providing the service. The community sat down and explained their challenges of feeling ignored since they were they were part of the vulnerable group and they were classified as a vulnerable group. And so using multiple tools, we managed to get them to form an agreement. We educated the municipality and trained them in how to successfully communicate within the community systems, because in this particular community there was street committees and various chairs of certain groups. So we had to educate how information could be filtered through successfully. Through workshops, it was almost, I think, just under 2 years, the project. Through workshops and a lot of engagement, we managed to secure a safe line for the municipality workers to come through, conduct their services and maintenance, and leave safely, which was one of the key problems or a barrier in trying to get the service given to this community of Cape Town. A similar situation occurred with the agricultural land claim. I'm not sure how well you know how land claims can be very political in how they sit with community claim, because this was a community claim vis-a-vis the previous landowner. And to bridge that type of conflict is very hard, but through a whole host of mediation, we first had to build trust with the community so we would be acceptable representatives on their behalf. We train them to communicate and take up space and agency when in conducting business with the previous land claim owner there as well. And it was a project that took about 3 years all in all. We even managed to train and capacitate a few of them to even sit within the board, which was the agricultural company that governed the business that they were about to claim. So those are the few examples where real-time, short and long-term impact results were seen. Thank you.
Thank you. We are now going to move on to the next question, which will be asked by Honorable Paulson.
Thank you very much, Chair, and good afternoon, Ms. Machaya.
Afternoon.
Ms. Machaya, what do you consider the key challenges facing the National Nuclear Regulator, and what suggestion would you make in order to address those challenges?
I just watched a couple of series and we've all watched the Chernobyl experience. So we haven't had an incident. So I think really if I had to think of what would threaten them now, if my understanding is correct, about 5%, if not less, electricity comes from nuclear energy of some sort. So I would assume we are talking of at least entertaining talks of expansion. At least that's what I'm reading. That would be challenge number one. It might not be the biggest one, but it would be challenge number one. How do we expand nuclear power, maintain the standards we currently are having right now in the next nuclear power plant? That would be one. Two would have to be, I would say, new nuclear technologies and safety, cybersecurity and safety would be another one. With AI and mechanical technologies growing at the pace that they are, and I'm noticing even how we apply and implement them within the health sector. A lot of cybersecurity would be around that. But I read the website. It seems as if the entity is already on top of at least new nuclear energies and trying to update themselves in that section. That would be number two. And I think last but not least, if I had to give another one out sort of an incident, I might have to say with regulators, a consistent threat would be always securing independence. It wouldn't be a major one since since I've been reading annual reports and everything else. It seems as if it was well managed and sustained within the last board, but it would always be an ongoing concern for me. Maintaining independence of the regulator while it procures to meet its mandate and objectives. I hope that answers your question, but that was an interesting one. Thank you.
Thank you. Question number 8 will be asked by Honorable Hassan.
Thanks, Chair. Ms. Machaya, considering the responsibilities of the role and the time that's required to serve on this particular board, could you please demonstrate with examples your time management skills and how you prioritize your tasks?
I haven't been asked something like that in a while because it's second nature to just do it. I think as an open disclaimer, I wouldn't have applied if I did not believe I had the time to do this work. That would be one. I'm a management consultant by trade, so I essentially own my own time. That would not be a key issue. But I do have an office and office administrator, and I live and die by my calendar. So if you really wanted to ensure that I don't meet anything, that you would actually maybe hack me and mess up my calendar, but it's not an issue I foresee with me in terms of time management. I successfully do it. In top of my own management consulting, I actually sit on a few other boards. So I generally have had an excellent time of actually managing managing all my current responsibilities. And this wouldn't be any different. Thank you.
Thank you. We are going to take the 9th question, which will be asked by Honorable Drink.
Thank you, Ms. Machaya. With regards to good corporate governance is an important element in building a capable and ethical public sector. In your role as a board member, which governance priorities would you ensure the NNR adheres to ensure good corporate governance standards?
Good question. Thank you. One of the first ones would be the oversight around internal controls. I think since we work with we work with nuclear energy and radioactive, things that can go radioactive, excellent internal controls. So I'd really contribute to that oversight. Regulatory compliance is standard in this one. Nothing, as in, we would ensure in our oversight, particularly with the internal staff, having respected the separation of powers between board oversight and operational management, ensuring that at least that is met. Accountability, particularly to the public, is another key one I would champion. And the financial sustainability of the entity is very important. So that means everything that it concerns and how they spend and their audit findings, which I'm very happy to have seen that has been clean for quite a couple of years. So I would sustain that in my representative as a board member. And last but not least, managing risk in all forms. That would be very, very, very important for me. If there are still any outstanding root cause internal control issues, it would be one of the first things I would push. Even trying to, if depending on how severe that they are, we could even get independent assurance to try and elevate and ensure that corrective measures are working effectively. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you. We are going to move on to the 10th question, which will be asked by Honorable Mylem.
Thank you, Chair. Ms. Machaya, do you have any personal, professional, or financial interests that could affect or be perceived to affect your ability to perform this role impartially?
No, I do not, Honorable.
Thank you. We are moving on to the last question, which is a scenario, so please do follow.
Okay.
As a board member of the National Nuclear Regulator, you receive a confidential report indicating that a nuclear facility has not fully complied with updated international safety standards. Senior government officials privately suggest delaying enforcement to avoid political fallout and economic disruption. How would you respond? And what actions would you take to uphold integrity and ensure nuclear safety?
Okay. How do I, oh, this has to do with, okay, other stakeholder interests interfering with that. With any board, if you understand your mandate and objectives, and for NNR, they are quite simple. Protect the public, protect property, and protect the environment. So anything else comes second after the mandate in itself. That would be one. So if I received the confidential report, one of the first things we do is the board needs to be notified. A meeting needs to occur, and a decision and discussion has to be held to make the necessary decisions to ensure that the issue that was highlighted by the report can be handled. And a report, obviously, to the accountable factors will have to be given of the findings of our understanding of what occurred. So it doesn't matter if the other stakeholder interests come from political groups or anywhere else. We have to maintain compliance, regulatory standards, and we need to meet our mandate. If it's in the safety of the public, safety of property, and safety of the environment in itself, that's our first mandate. Everything else comes second. I hope I addressed your question.
Thank you very much, Ms. Machaya. This brings us to the end of our interview. Thank you for your participation. Do have a great day further.
Thank you. Bye. How do I exit out of this? Oh, there we go.
It's fine. I'll remove you. Oh. Awesome.